We are starting snowflake printing today. You are going to be making 3 snowflakes. So to begin, you're going to trace onto one of these pieces of square papers a circle, and I would cut all 3 circles out at the same time. So keep 3 papers together, trim that circle nice. From my video you can see I already have 2 of them cut out, so I am just cutting 1 circle right now. Snowflakes actually are radial symmetry, meaning they look the same all the way around. It's the same pattern repeated 6 times. So we're going to fold these circles in half like a taco, and I can already tell that my cutting was not perfect, so I'm going to trim a little bit to try to get that circle nice. Now instead of folding it in half again, we're actually going to try to fold it in thirds. So I'm not creasing yet, I'm just bending this paper, and I'm looking to make sure it's lined up nicely and I don't have any bends happening, and then I'm going to crease it. So again, my circle is not cut out perfectly. I'm going to trim that into a nice circle. So if it ends up smaller than your trace circle, that's fine. Now, cutting out a snowflake, you want to cut out small shapes. They can be triangle shapes, they can be more of a square shape, but you actually want to see a space out of it. You don't just want to make little cuts. You can cut a little bit close to the tip, or you can even cut that tip off and it would be a hole in the middle of your snowflake. I am just cutting little shapes. They are never touching though. If they touched, the snowflake would break. If that happens to you, you can get more of this paper to cut out. For snowflakes, you need 3. So at the top I'm also cutting. Notice how I left spaces between my shapes? That's going to hold my snowflake together. So when I open it up carefully, I've got this awesome snowflake shape. Now, 3 snowflakes later, so you want to cut the circles out together, but you're folding and snipping all those shapes separately, so you get 3 different looking snowflakes. You are almost ready to print. To print, you are going to have 4 white papers, 2 colored papers, and a small piece of fabric. On the papers, try to write your initials in a spot where you're going to remember. So I'm just going in a corner, and I'm doing this on every paper that I've gotten. So we are printing 7 times today. I'm going to start with the 3 colored pieces. So my fabric and my 2 colored papers. I am going to be printing at the white stations today. So there's different colors that are going to be around the room. To print, this is called a jelly plate, and it does kind of look like jello or jelly. We're going to use the brayers, and we're going to roll a very thin layer of white, and this is just white paint. These jelly plates have been used before, so you can see they're kind of stained with color. That's fine, it's not going to come off on your print. But if you notice, this paint is very see-through. You can still see that mess underneath it. I am going to fold this like a card, and my jelly plate is going to fit on that piece really nicely. Before I print, I'm going to put a snowflake or 2 right on this jelly plate. So I already scratched some of the paint off, you can see that. You want to be gentle with this, and I'm just going to let it in there. It's not flat, and that's okay. If I move it around, the paint's going to come off. I'm going to try to get maybe 2 flakes on there, so I just lightly set it. I'm going to put my paper on top of there, and I don't want that to move. So my paper is not moving, and I'm taking that clean brayer, and I'm rolling this and stamping it so it's pushing onto that paint. That's so important that it doesn't move or shift, and I'm going to peel it off, and you can see my 2 snowflake shapes. So it has printed white in the spots that aren't covered up by the snowflakes. I'm going to peel those off. We should be able to get a couple of prints using these same snowflakes. You have 3 of them, so I would switch off, and I would try to make each print a little different. So with the white ink, we are just printing on colored paper, and we're also going to print on our fabric. So I'm going to repeat this process every time I print. A thin layer of paint, a snowflake, and maybe I just put 1 snowflake on this one. And then I would fold papers, lay it on there, clean brayer to roll. I want to show what printing with this fabric is like. So the fabric is going to lay on here nice and smooth. And it's curled up right now, that's okay. This fabric is kind of see-through, or it has little holes in it. You don't even realize it. So to get this to stamp on, I'm actually going to put a piece of paper in between my fabric and my brayer. And so with my brayer, I'm trying not to move and wiggle this, but I'm trying to push so that the paint goes onto that fabric. So the fabric is the only time you need a paper in between for the printing. When I pull this off, I get a pretty awesome looking print. So if you notice, I have a messy mat underneath my work area. You at the printing stations will have paper to catch messes. This messy mat is going to kind of end up being my tray, because when I'm done with 2 colored prints and my fabric print, I'm going to have to move to a new station. So I could drop this off at my table spot so it stays clean, and then I could go to the next printing station. So your table area today is going to be your clean area. On these white papers, we're going to go to different colors. So there are some tables today for printing that are more warm colors, and there's some tables today that are more cool colors. So warm colors, pink, yellow, red, orange, and they also have some white on them. So you will have clean jelly plates, different jelly plates at these spots. I am not like mixing this paint up. I'm letting it look kind of tie-dyed when I roll it on my plate. If you come to a jelly plate that somebody has already printed from, don't clean it, just leave it. So white printing first, then the colored, because your snowflakes might have a little white on the back, which is fine. I'm going to make another design, and it's okay today if these snowflakes are even going off the edge of your jelly plate. White paper for these colored paints, clean brayer, trying not to move it, pushing hard. My brayer had a little paint on it, so I've got now some paint on this side of the paper, which is fine. I'm going to peel it off. Very cool. That might be my favorite one so far. Before I do anything else, I'm going to peel these papers off the jelly plate. Otherwise, they're going to stick to it because they're wet. So, you are printing 7 times. I would try to do a couple, maybe 2 that are warm color, and then I would move to a different table that would have green, blues, kind of purple colors to do some other prints. Every time you're printing, you're putting more paint on, you're rearranging your snowflakes in a new way, and then you are printing. When you are finished, you are going to take 4 prints. So at this point, you're going back to your table spot that's clean. Mine is pretty messy from all my printing. You have a black piece of paper with a name tag on it. I would like you to tape, I say tape so that you can use these again, 4 of your prints. And of course, I did not do all my prints for the camera, but 4 of the prints. So to tape them, I don't want to see the tape. I'm going to use that trick of rolling the tape. If you don't know that trick, ask a friend. I'm going to need probably 2 pieces of tape on each paper. This way I can take these off and actually use the cards. 2 pieces of tape. And if you notice, these will fit on here without hanging off the edge. So you want to get them all on here nice. And then this will have to go in an area in the room that Mrs. Cleary has laid out, probably the new drying rack. The fabric, we are going to have to get your name on the back of the fabric with a piece of chalk, and this is going to stay in the art room for a project later on this year.